national rankings when it comes to the transfer portal, guys. They look like this. Number 1, the Louisville Cardinals at number 1. Interesting. Number 2, Colorado. Number 3, Ole Miss. Number 4, South Carolina. Again, these are national rankings. Number 5, Syracuse. Number 6, Missouri. Number 7, NC State. Number 8, Wisconsin. Number 9, Kentucky. Number 10, Washington. Number 11, Cal. Number 12, SMU. 13, Arkansas. 14, Purdue. 15, Florida State. 16, UCF. 17, Notre Dame. 18, Boston College. 19, TCU. 20, Minnesota. 21, West Virginia. 22, Virginia. 23, Texas. 24, Nebraska. And 25, Rutgers. You know, it's interesting. We talk about this stuff, guys, you know, just like it's, you know, signing day, the recruiting rankings. And, of course, the portal cycle is not exactly over, which trying to figure that out is it's just nearly impossible because it's like, okay, well, it closes on this day. It opens on this day. They can do this on this day. And it's just like, it feels like guys are in the portal like every other day anyways. You know what I mean? So it's like, just roll with the punches and try to keep up with it the best you can. But this stuff is becoming nearly just as important. For some schools, even more important than National Signing Day is. When you have coaches that are trying to flip rosters or parlay positive momentum from a season and build on, maybe be a 12-team playoff team or take the program to the next level, or again, rebound from a bad season or whatever it might be, the portal is essential. I know that we can all agree with that. Now, the SEC rankings, guys, we just went through the top 25 national rankings. I think these are the rankings that more so matter because, guys, right, just like when it comes to the recruiting rankings, and we get so lost in the top 25, our team was ranked 20th in the national recruiting rankings. Okay, well, you were 12th in the SEC, so who really gives a damn? What progress did you make, right? The SEC rankings is what truly matters. And right now, the transfer portal team rankings for the SEC look like this. At number 1, the Ole Miss Rebels. Number 2, South Carolina, who made a significant jump over the weekend. Number 3, the Missouri Tigers and Eli Drinkwitz. Number 4, Kentucky. Number 5, Arkansas. Number 6, Texas. Number 7, Oklahoma. Number 8, Auburn. Number 9, Tennessee. Number 10, Florida. Number 11, Texas A&M. Number 12, LSU. Number 13, Mississippi State. Number 14, Vandy. Number 15, Alabama. And number 16, Georgia. Now, there's a lot of things about these numbers, guys, that are really intriguing. When you look at the number of players who have departed, number of players gained, you can look at the talent levels of who's left and who's come in. Let me start first at who's at the bottom, right? You just heard me say Alabama 15, Georgia 16. What does it say about the Blue Bloods at the bottom of the transfer portal rankings? Why are they not using it more? Guys, I think it's a testament. And this does not apply in all cases, right? I'm not saying if you're ranked in the top 5 of the transfer portal rankings that your program isn't on solid footing, because we'd all disagree and we'd all know that's wrong. You can easily disprove that theory because, number 1, Ole Miss just had an 11-win season. Mizzou just had an 11-win season at number 3. Kentucky's solid, right? I mean, they don't have major problems. So, you know, to say that, well, those teams are at the bottom because they have the best foundations isn't necessarily correct, right? That's not a foolproof way to analyze that and break that down. But I think seeing Bama at 15, Georgia at 16, it does scream to the fact, guys, that the foundations are extremely solid with both, right? And we've seen Georgia and Alabama, by the way, use the portal to their benefit. And I think both coaches, both staffs, both programs would acknowledge that the portal, there's a lot of upside, there's a lot of positive with it. Georgia has lost 21 players of the transfer portal. Bama's lost 18. So, guys, I mean, the portal taketh away from those programs as well, right? I think only Arkansas has more portal departures, and yes, they lead the SEC with 22, right? Georgia's picked up 5 players in the portal, which you look at the rankings of those players, an average of 86.20. They're bringing in some studs from the portal, the 5 guys they've added. And then 3 guys from Bama have come in an 80.67 rating. But I think what it tells you, guys, is because there's different ways to skin a cat, right? There's different ways to win in college football. You can be a really portal-heavy team and win big. Saw it with Florida State, saw it with Ole Miss. You can still recruit at a really high level, a top 5, a top 3 level annually, build that way, build from within, and have a championship-level team. That's what Bama and Georgia are doing. I think it also goes to show, guys, again, the foundation's there from the standpoint of these programs have been recruiting well for a lot longer than just a couple years, like over a decade, like basically forever. I don't remember the last time Bama and Georgia didn't recruit well. So it's like when you recruit that well, right? Today's backups are tomorrow's studs. They don't have to be as active in the portal, right? Because their depth is so good. Their depth is so superior. Georgia's 2s and 3s could go out there and go to the ReliaQuest Bowl. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, Georgia's 2s and 3s could beat most SEC teams. Same with Bama. So I think seeing those schools down at the bottom, the foundations are so good from years and years and years of elite recruiting that they don't have to be as active. Now, you go back to the top. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, the Portal Kings, they took a little bit of a hit with the Quinshon Judkins stuff. They still sit at the top, of course. And what they've done in the portal is unparalleled by anyone else. I mean, it has been a hell of a haul for Lane Kiffin and company. Lost 16 players, but gained 12. And the 12 they've gained, guys, the 12 they've gained have been incredible football players. Incredible football players. Guys like Walter Nolan, Juice Wells, DeCamarion Richardson from Mississippi State, Tyler Barron, Tamarion McDonald, Princely Umanmielen, Key Lawrence from Oklahoma. I mean, they just one after another, after another, after another. Chris Paul Jr., the linebacker from Arkansas. Need I continue? But you look at who's number 2. Made a big jump this past weekend. The South Carolina Gamecocks. We talked about the importance of this portal cycle for Shane Beamer, for his time at South Carolina, right? Last year's portal cycle was detrimental, I think, to Beamer. A lot of folks started to say, man, maybe this guy can't pull him in like we thought he could. A lot of talent leaving. What's going on behind closed doors? And I was critical of it about a week ago. We talked about this, right? Pup Howard leaves from the program. Stone Blanton leaves. Give credit to Shane Beamer and company for steadying the ship and figuring out a way to replace those guys. Maybe with even better talent, right? Maybe with even better talent. You look at the guys who have come in. Bangali Kamara. I think that's how you say his name. I could be butchering that. The linebacker from Pitt, 6'2", 200 pounds. That's a big pickup, right? You look at the linebacker from Charlotte, Demetrius Knight, who started his career at Georgia Tech. You look at some others as well. They've added. They've completely flipped the linebacker room to where at least I think, is there going to be this massive drop-off? Maybe not. Maybe that drop-off was a little bit over-exaggerated. You know, we talked about guys in the line of scrimmage. Kyle Kennard from Georgia Tech. They flipped the running back room, getting Rocket Sanders. Also, guys, the big pickups over the weekend on the line of scrimmage. On the line of scrimmage, South Carolina getting Aaron Parks, which, you know, it's funny with South Carolina fans. Whether I say something really nice about them, about the Gamecocks, or I say something that's critical, I can't win with some of them. That's why I just keep it a buck and keep it rolling. Either way, though, I said that Aaron Parks was one of the bigger pickups South Carolina's had this cycle. Maybe I went over the top a little bit. Maybe just a little bit. But, guys, you're telling me an Oklahoma offensive lineman, 6'4", 330. I know he didn't play in Norman. But Oklahoma has put out studs on studs on studs over the years. This dude was a former 4-star prospect. Again, Oklahoma don't take you if you ain't good on the offensive line. That's an offensive line factory. And, guys, anytime South Carolina, with their offensive line woes this past season, you land a Power 5 transfer up front, that's a big pickup. That's a big pickup. Also, you get Monkel Goodwine, the defensive line transfer from Alabama, former 4-star signee, 6'4", 275, did not play a lot. I don't think he even registered a stat. Good enough for Bama, though, at a high school. I've talked about it before. South Carolina. At South Carolina, you got to be a master talent evaluator and a master talent developer. That applies in the portal also, guys. That applies in the portal. There's guys you're reeling in, pulling in that have talent. can the staff get the most out of them? That's really what it's going to come down to with the Gamecocks in 2024, I think. But when you look at what they lost, what they're bringing in, I think Shane Beamer and company doing a really, really good job of addressing some of those needs. I mentioned Missouri, guys, at number 3. What they've done in the portal. Some of the big guys they've picked up, while also getting a guy like Theo Weiss back. Brady Cook is coming back. Got a couple Florida transfers. Got a Miami transfer and Corey Flagg, the linebacker. Darius Smith, the Georgia transfer. Aiden Green, another Oklahoma offensive lineman. That was a big one. Real big one. Oriano Pride. I mean, what Mizzou has done after an 11-win season has been wildly impressive. Kentucky with Jamar Dumas Johnson and Brock Vandegrift and others. They just picked up a UAB wide receiver yesterday. Heck, Auburn just made a move in the portal. Just landed a guy while we were on air. Trill Carter, the defensive lineman, 6'2", 310 from Texas. Started his career at Minnesota, went to Texas. That's a big pickup. Texas A&M's been very active. Guys, Texas A&M, they've lost 21 guys. They picked up 17 guys out of the portal. Elijah Austin, the latest, the D lineman, 6'3", 250. Coming from Memphis, stats were really, really good. They also picked up guys, E.J. Smith, the son of Emmitt Smith. Fantastic running back, of course, at Florida. That week 3 ball game, I believe it is, in Gainesville, is going to be an electric factory. Cannot wait to see that one. E.J. Smith was really good at Stanford. So I think Mike Elko and company early on building this thing. And we're talking biggest winners and losers, of course, guys. Florida's one that's really concerned me. They keep taking hits, man. It just seems like every day. And you know, I'm not as close to the Florida program as many others, certainly. So I don't know if some of these guys, maybe they're happy to see them go. But when you're seeing, and I know the offensive line wasn't good, and you're not going to see many fans shed tears when you lose players from a team that went 5-7. Like I totally get that. But when you're seeing offensive linemen start at every game, offensive linemen started every game, offensive lineman played in 20 games, you're like, who in the world's blocking? Now, they did get Pup Howard, the South Carolina transfer. So, but you never want to see, too, guys, when you're like, and I think they got to change this rule because it just seems weird to me to see guys like Jaden Hill go from Florida to Texas A&M, right? Going to be playing against the Gators this year. Like, that stuff is weird, man. Trevor Etienne going from Florida to Georgia. Chris McClellan going from Florida to Mizzou. Jalen Farmer going from Florida to Kentucky. Like, the amount of guys that Florida has had transfer within the conference. Princely, obviously, we mentioned going to Ole Miss. It is insane, the amount of guys that has transferred within the conference. You know, I think Sam Pittman in Arkansas, what they're doing, trying to flip a roster, 22 guys out, 12 new ones in. Oklahoma, 17 guys out, 9 guys in. So Tennessee as well, who I think is more so building through recruiting. Just 5 portal signees. They lost 12 guys. So not a lot of turnover there, but they're also working in the portal, getting some guys they think can help them. So, you know, I think all in all, guys, there's different ways to do it. I wonder, too, guys, back to the Ole Miss situation, because, again, they are number 1. It's really fun to talk about Ole Miss, the talent they've added. This Quinshon Judkins thing, I wonder, would Ole Miss fans take Quinshon Judkins back? There's been some chatter about the Quinshon Judkins thing and potentially, you know, he's visiting Ohio State right now. I don't think – I don't know that he goes there. That would be a good fit, but you saw the Jackson Dart post after he hit the portal. And we've heard all this stuff about his ego and he's not a team player and they feel some type of way about him in the locker room. It'll be funny how that all go away if Quinshon was like, man, I want to come back. You know what? I made a decision to evaluate the market. I didn't really like what I saw. I want to come back. I wonder how that tune would change if Quinshon Judkins decided he wanted to come back. I wonder if Ole Miss fans would take him back. Either way, Ole Miss has been big winners in the portal. But, guys, what are your biggest takeaways? Who are your biggest winners? Who are your biggest losers? The cycle isn't necessarily over, right? But things starting to come together. I think the dust is somewhat starting to settle. I say that, and we'll have some madness break out over this week or the next couple weeks. But Some big movers, I think. I think some big movers, guys. I think some teams that absolutely have improved their football teams throughout this transfer portal cycle. We'll see what that means on the field this fall.